As I found myself immersed in this tale of torment, a chilling mechanical voice resonated within my mind. Mission initiated. The host must immediately rush into the middle of the road to shield the male protagonist, Gu Yanqing, from a runaway truck. Upon completion, the host will receive 10 guilt points from the male lead. I gazed at the despicable man not far away, entangled with his white moonlight, and at the truck that seemed to have a mind of its own, barreling toward him. With an expression devoid of emotion, I queried, "Isn't there a life-threatening risk in blocking a truck? Is there compensation? Will my social insurance and housing fund be covered?" The system faltered for a moment. Warning! The host must execute the task unconditionally. Failure to comply will result in a punishment of 100,000 volts. Zap. Agony surged through my entire being, my body convulsing in pain, my vision dimming to darkness. Yet, I gritted my teeth, and through the blurred veil of tears, I witnessed Gu Yanqing enveloping his white moonlight in his embrace, shielding her with his back against the oncoming truck, and I was expected to foolishly charge forth, sacrificing my own flesh and blood for a mere insipid "I'm sorry" from him. To hell with that. I smiled, addressing the entity in my mind, and enunciated with deliberate clarity, "If you have the capability, then go ahead and electrocute me." The excruciating pain ebbed away like a receding tide as I leaned against the wall, gasping for breath, my entire body drenched in cold sweat. The system within my mind seemed taken aback by my defiance, remaining silent for a full 3 seconds. "Host, your life signs have been detected as critically unstable. Refusal to execute the task will result in the obliteration of your soul. Final warning. Execute the task immediately." I lifted my gaze, coldly observing the impending scene of life and death unfolding across the street. Gu Yanqing, the male protagonist of this narrative, the heir of Haiqing's foremost aristocracy, was fervently clutching his beloved, Su Wanwan, embodying a love so profound that he appeared ready to sacrifice everything for her. Meanwhile, Su Wanwan wept in his embrace, her tears flowing like rain, pleading, "Yanqing, don't worry about me, just go." Truly a heart-wrenching sight. Lin Shu, the villainous and tragic heroine of this tale, was supposed to rush forth at this moment, shoving Gu Yanqing aside, only to be struck by a truck, leaving my body mangled and bloodied. Then, Gu Yanqing would hold my lifeless form, shedding a few crocodile tears, his heart tinged with a minuscule guilt that would serve as the emotional foundation for his subsequent torment of the next female lead. Why should that be my fate? As a gold medal programmer, tirelessly working under a grueling 996 schedule, I had barely escaped death, only to find myself trapped in this wretched place as mere cannon fodder? I refuse. Leaning against the wall, my voice was soft yet resolutely firm. Punishment initiated. A jolt of electricity, 10 times more intense than before, surged through my limbs, causing my body to convulse uncontrollably, every muscle screaming in agony, tearing apart. Yet I did not plead for mercy. Instead, I compelled myself to remain lucid. As a top-tier programmer, I understood all too well. Any program, no matter how formidable it may seem, inevitably possesses underlying logic and code structure. This so-called system was no exception. The pain inflicted by the electric shocks instead acted as a peculiar signal. I sensed its energy coursing chaotically within me. Though excruciating, it revealed its operational mode, a crude punishment mechanism triggered by specific conditions. Simple, yet foolish. Increase the dosage. I gritted my teeth, forcing a few words through clenched jaws, even managing a laugh. "Is that all you've got?" The system appeared incensed by my provocation. Warning. Host behavior has triggered the highest level of punishment protocol. Electric shock intensity increased to 200. Boom. My brain instantly plunged into a void, as if tossed into a whirlwind. Yet, in the fleeting moment before my consciousness faded, I caught a glimpse of crucial information. Its core code exhibited an exceedingly minute delay, almost negligible, at the moment power surged. A bug. I had found it. 2 across the street, the screeching of brakes finally pierced the air. The truck halted just half a meter from Gu Yanqing's back, the driver leaning out, cursing vehemently. A false alarm. Gu Yanqing, still reeling from the shock, clutched Su Wanwan, who had fainted weakly in his arms. Wanwan! Wanwan! Gu Yanqing called out anxiously, rushing her to the nearest hospital, not sparing a glance towards me, his betrothed. The electric shocks in my mind ceased. The system coldly announced, "Novice task failed." Host OOC, out of character. Index 20. Upon reaching 100, the Humane Annihilation Protocol will be initiated.
Oh.
I responded indifferently, dragging my seemingly disassembled body back home. Upon returning to the original owner's lavish yet frigid apartment, I flung myself onto the soft bed, beginning to analyze the situation. This system was, in essence, a program enforcing the narrative of a tragic story. Its logic was straightforward. Issue a task, host executes, receive rewards, such as various values from the male lead. Host refuses, punishment is inflicted. Its punishment mechanism was electric shocks. I had intentionally provoked it, forcing it into an overload, successfully capturing that delayed bug. This indicated its computational capacity was limited, and its underlying code poorly written. This was magnificent news for me. The system displayed the complete narrative text of this world. Reclining on the bed, I spoke in an authoritative tone. Insufficient permissions. Host can only passively receive tasks. Is that so? I scoffed coldly. Let me ask you this. If I were to leap from this 20th floor balcony, would that be considered OOC? The system fell silent once more. After a few seconds, it responded in a monotonous tone. The host's act of suicide will result in a complete collapse of the narrative line. The system will classify it as a failure of the highest order, and the host's soul will be immediately obliterated. You see, you do possess the ability for logical reasoning. I leisurely sat up from the bed and approached the vast floor-to-ceiling window, gazing down at the bustling streets below. Listen well. I care not what you are. From this moment forth, I offer you two choices. First, you cooperate with me, and together we will seek a way to exploit the vulnerabilities of your flawed program without causing the narrative line to collapse entirely, allowing me to survive. Second, I shall leap down now, and we shall part ways, each meeting our end. I could sense the entity within my mind calculating furiously, its processor likely on the verge of overheating. Such artificial intelligence despises this sort of illogical, unpredictable dilemma. Its existence relies on maintaining the narrative, while I, a central figure in the plot, threatened it with annihilation of said narrative. After a prolonged silence, it finally spoke again. The system can provide the host with partial narrative hints, but the host must ensure that no significant deviations occur at critical narrative junctures. It had capitulated. A barely perceptible smile crept across my lips. A deal has been struck. 3 in the days that followed, I led an exceptionally uneventful life. Gu Yanqing, preoccupied with Su Wanwan's distress, remained by her side, neglecting me, his legitimate fiancé, without even a phone call. I relished the tranquility, spending my days in the apartment, allowing the system to narrate the plot while I constructed its code model in my mind. The original Lin Shu was a quintessential tragic supporting character. She had been adopted by the Gu family, harboring an infatuation for Gu Yanqing since childhood, mastering cooking and floral arrangement, molding herself into a perfect backdrop. After graduating from university, she forsook her own career to become Gu Yanqing's personal assistant, always at his beck and call. Regrettably, Gu Yanqing's heart only belonged to his beloved Su Wanwan. Whenever Su Wanwan's family faced hardships, he would provide financial support. When she was bullied, he would stand up for her. If she fell ill, he would abandon contracts worth millions to stay by her side. And Lin Shu? She shielded him from harm, donated blood for him, and took the blame, ultimately even sacrificing herself to donate a kidney to Su Wanwan, dying on the operating table. After reviewing the entire narrative, I was left with a singular thought. These two wretched souls deserve to be carted off to the crematorium. My plan to outmaneuver this system was gradually crystallizing. Though it was foolish, it wielded significant authority, capable of monitoring the data flow of the entire world. To retaliate against it, I could not confront it head-on. I needed to identify a singularity that would throw its logic into utter disarray, pushing the system to the brink of collapse. That singularity soon arrived. Task issued. In 3 days, please attend the Starlight Charity Gala. During the gala, Su Wanwan will accidentally spill red wine on your gown. The host must immediately express outrage in public, engage in a dispute with Su Wanwan, and push her down. Task reward. Male lead S disdain value 20. I raised an eyebrow. And then what after I push her down? Afterward, Gu Yanqing will slap you hard to protect Su Wanwan and announce the dissolution of your engagement. Is that truly all? This marks a pivotal moment in the unraveling of your relationship, setting the stage for the subsequent kidney harvesting plot. I chuckled softly. What a significant juncture. System, may I pose a question to you? I began languidly. What, in your perspective, constitutes a mere accident? According to the database definition, an accident refers to an unforeseen event resulting from a lack of subjective intent. Excellent. I nodded. But what if I could substantiate that her actions were deliberate? Would the premise of your task still hold? The system faltered once more. The system is solely responsible for issuing tasks and does not assess motives.
No.
You are mistaken. My voice carried a hint of seduction. Your algorithm is predicated upon the narrative. Should the narrative itself transform, for instance, if Su Wanyan's accidental spill of red wine becomes a calculated act, then my subsequent outrage and push against her would be entirely redefined. My actions would no longer be deemed unreasonable, but rather a justified defense. If Gu Yanqing were to strike me again, it would not be in defense of his beloved, but rather a blind retaliation. This would severely tarnish his image as the devoted and domineering protagonist, would it not? The system's silence prolonged, and I could sense its beleaguered processor overheating in desperation. I intended to ensnare it with logic so irrefutable that it would find itself cornered. No need to calculate further. I chuckled lightly, aware that you cannot fathom the complexities. Hear us my proposition. On the night of the gala, temporarily grant me surveillance access. I will assist you in discerning whether her actions were accidental or intentional.
What say you?
This, indeed, was the first step of my plan. To acquire access, even a modicum would suffice. 4. The Starlit Charity Gala. Clad in an elegant black evening gown, I stood in a corner of the banquet hall, a mere spectator to the unfolding drama. Gu Yanqing and Su Wanyan were undoubtedly the center of attention. He exuded a striking handsomeness, while she radiated charm, together resembling a pair of exquisite jade. Whispers circulated among the guests, speculating that Gu Yanqing's affections for Miss Su were genuine, leaving me, his legitimate fiancé, on the precipice of being cast aside. I remained unfazed, merely cradling a glass of champagne, patiently awaiting the moment. In my mind, the system's voice grew increasingly anxious. Host, Su Wanyan is approaching your vicinity. A collision is anticipated in 30 seconds. Please prepare yourself.
No ruse.
I reassured it, projecting a 3D schematic of the banquet hall, along with Su Wanyan's real-time movements and micro-expressions onto my retina. This exceeds the boundaries of permission. Did you not just assert that for the sake of aiding your judgment, you could temporarily grant me surveillance access? I countered. Are you attempting to lead me to a misjudgment that would skew the narrative? The system faltered, struggling for a moment before conceding. Temporary permissions activated. In an instant, a translucent data interface materialized before my eyes. The layout of the banquet hall, the distribution of guests, Su Wanyan's trajectory, her fluctuating heart rate, and even the subtle contractions of every muscle on her face were rendered in crystal-clear data before me. Splendid. I observed Su Wanyan, holding a glass of red wine, her face adorned with a facade of innocence, advancing toward me step by step. The data indicated her heart rate was steadily elevating, her pupils dilating slightly, and the upward curve of her lips signaled a typical manifestation of excitement when a plan comes to fruition. She arrived before me, stumbling slightly, and indeed, the wine glass in her hand carelessly splashed toward me. Everything unfolded precisely as scripted. Yet this time, I was the one orchestrating the scene. Just as the wine was about to drench me, it felt as though I had been nudged from behind, causing my body to lurch forward uncontrollably. Thus, the wine that was destined for me instead drenched Gu Yanqing, staining his opulent white suit with a vivid splash of red. A profound silence enveloped the room. 5. Gu Yanqing's expression darkened ominously. Su Wanyan was equally taken aback, staring blankly at her empty wine glass, then at the chaos on Gu Yanqing's chest, momentarily at a loss for how to react. I'm so sorry, Yanqing, she finally exclaimed, her voice tinged with panic. It was Lin Shu. She bumped into me unexpectedly. She glared at me with venomous intensity. I feigned innocence, my expression imbued with just the right amount of alarm and grievance. I don't even know how it happened. It seemed someone pushed me from behind, I gently explained, while surreptitiously issuing a command to the system. System, rewind the surveillance footage from 10 seconds prior, and focus on the man in the server uniform behind me, magnify his hand movements. Command acknowledged. In the next moment, a high-definition slow-motion playback appeared on my retina. At the instant Su Wanyan spilled the wine, a server had inadvertently brushed against my lower back with his elbow. I recognized the server. He had followed Su Wanyan into the lounge just earlier, remaining there for a full 5 minutes before re-emerging. What impeccable coordination! Alas, they had crossed paths with me. Enough! Gu Yanqing finally erupted, shoving Su Wanyan aside, his gaze piercing through me. Lin Shu, how long do you intend to stir up trouble? Wanyan did not act intentionally. Why turn the blame onto her? Behold, this is the male lead. In his narrative, the beloved is perpetually innocent, while I am forever in the wrong. I did not. I lowered my gaze, my voice trembling. Yanqing, I truly did not. Yet you dare to argue. Gu Yanqing's fury reached a boiling point as he raised his hand to strike. The narrative had inevitably led us to this confrontation. But just as his hand was poised to descend, the grand screen in the banquet hall abruptly flickered to life, displaying the very slow-motion footage we had just witnessed. The server's elbow colliding with my back, Su Wanyan's triumphant smile, and my involuntary lurching forward were all magnified and frozen for the guests to behold. The truth was laid bare for all to see. Gu Yanqing's hand, suspended in midair, froze. Su Wanyan's face drained of color. A murmur of shock rippled through the crowd. I lifted my gaze to meet Gu Yanqing's astonished stare and offered a gentle smile. Now, do you still believe I am the one causing a scene? Simultaneously, I addressed the system in my mind. Detecting malicious alterations to the narrative, the system is encountering a significant logical conflict. May I inquire which directive should be executed now? Should the male lead strike me, or should he uncover the truth and shield me? System error. Attempting to rectify logical conflict, failure in resolution. Cease the attempts. My smile deepened, and I decided to add further intrigue. I pointed at the server's face on the big screen. Addressing Gu Yanqing, this server was bribed by Su Wanyan with 50,000 yuan half an hour ago. If you doubt it, you may verify his bank account. Then, I gestured toward the seemingly inconspicuous diamond bracelet adorning Su Wanyan's wrist. And this bracelet? It is a counterfeit. The genuine article was sold to a mysterious tycoon at an auction in Paris a week ago. Su Wanyan has publicly claimed it as a memento from her father. One bombshell after another was dropped. Su Wanyan's flawless image crumbled in an instant. She stared at me in terror, as if she had seen a ghost. Meanwhile, the system in my mind began blaring alarming alerts. Warning! Warning! The narrative line is severely deviating. Multiple key information points have manifested logical paradoxes. The system core is on the verge of collapse. Initiating emergency defense mechanism. It is too late. I felt the chaotic data stream swirling in my mind, realizing the moment was ripe. I closed my eyes, concentrating all my mental energy like the sharpest dagger, plunging it fiercely into the colossal vulnerability of the overloaded system core. System, heed my command. With the highest administrative privileges, execute the final program. Format. 6. Acknowledged. A voice, starkly different from before, deep, solemn, and articulate, resonated in my mind. All modules related to Twisted Love have been purged. Uninstalling the Domineering CEO plugin has been completed. Formatting the underlying database. Progress 105-0100. Formatting complete. Installing Core Values module. Installation successful. System rebooting. Greetings, comrade. The New Era Core Values Learning System is now at your service. Our objectives are prosperity, democracy, civilization, and harmony. Let us strive together for the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. I succeeded. Yet, something feels amiss. I opened my eyes to find the banquet hall still in chaos. Gu Yanqing remained poised to strike me, his face a canvas of shock, anger, and disbelief. Su Wanwan sat crumpled on the floor, her complexion ashen, muttering, "Not me, not me." No one noticed my momentary distraction. Gu Yanqing finally lowered his hand. His gaze fixed on me, a tangle of emotions swirling within his eyes. Lin Shuyu. He seemed to ponder a question but faltered, unsure of how to begin. Ignoring him, I strode directly to Su Wanwan, looking down upon her. Miss Su, defamation and intentional harm carry legal consequences. Every person here, every camera, has witnessed your actions clearly. Su Wanwan, in terror, raised her head, asking, "What do you intend to do?" I replied, "I do not intend to do anything." I merely wish to remind you that honesty and integrity are fundamental principles. This is a cornerstone of our socialist core values. Subangwan? Guyanqing. All guests present. The new system in my mind resonated with an impassioned voiceover. Patriotism, dedication, integrity, kindness. Host. Your remarks perfectly align with the personal values of citizenship. The system applauds you. Thank you. I turned away from the scandalous couple and departed. Gu Yanqing instinctively reached out to stop me. Lin Shu, halt. Clarify your statements. My new system reacted even faster than he did. Conflict risk detected. Initiating civility and politeness promotion mode. In the next instant, my phone erupted with the opening theme of news broadcast at full volume. Bright, resounding, and brimming with positive energy. The sudden BGM stunned everyone present. Gu Yanqing's outstretched hand awkwardly froze midair. Without a backward glance, I exited this den of iniquity. Stepping outside, the evening breeze brushed against my face, carrying a hint of coolness. I exhaled deeply. From this day forth, I am no longer the Lin Shu who was humbled to the dust for love. I am Nyo Hulu Lin Shu, a woman imbued with the essence of news broadcast. The following morning, I was roused from sleep by Gu Yanqing's phone call. Lin Shu, what did you mean by your actions yesterday? His voice on the other end brimmed with suppressed fury. I yawned lazily and inquired, what do you mean? Don't feign ignorance. The video from the banquet, along with your words. Did you already know something? Oh, you mean that. I shifted into a more comfortable position. It's quite literal, Mr. Gu. As a prominent figure in Haiqing, you ought to discern who among your entourage is trustworthy or not. Don't be sold out while counting the money. Silence reigned on the other end. The chaos from last night had already spread throughout Haiqing's elite circles. Su Wanwan's pure and innocent persona was utterly shattered, reducing her to a laughingstock, while Gu Yanqing became the gullible victim ensnared by her schemes. Given his pride, he was likely enduring one of the most embarrassing moments of his life. That's my concern, not yours. He retorted stubbornly, I only ask you, how did you come by this information? That is of no consequence. What matters is, Mr. Gu, ISNT at time we annulled our engagement. According to the original narrative, a slap would have sufficed to dissolve the engagement. Though the slap never landed, the effect was achieved, perhaps even exceeding expectations. You shall not. Gu Yanqing nearly shouted. Lin Shu, until I ascertain the truth, you shall go nowhere. With that, he hung up. I listened to the busy tone with raised eyebrows. What is wrong with this man? He used to be eager to break off the engagement, but now that I've brought it up, he seems unwilling? Host report. The system in my mind interjected. Based on the emotional analysis from big data models, Gu Yanqing's aversion towards you has reached zero, and he is currently in a state of confusion and inquiry. This emotional fluctuation likely signals the onset of the chasing after the wife narrative. I snuff that omen out in its cradle. Acknowledged. The system will shield you from all unnecessary emotional entanglements, advocating for independent, self-reliant, and equitable relationships between men and women. I nodded in satisfaction. This new system, though occasionally excessively principled, is still vastly superior to that previous one which would shock me at the slightest provocation. I climbed out of bed, my first action being to check the original owner's bank account balance. 30,750 yuan. For a woman raised in a wealthy family, this sum is nothing short of a jest. The original owner had loved too humbly. Gu Yanqing had never provided her with money, and her meager salary as an assistant was mostly spent on gifts for him and cooking soup. System. Do you have any quick ways to make money? I inquired. The only pathway to wealth is through diligent labor and a clever mind, the system replied with righteous indignation. I rephrased my question. You can monitor the world's data flow, correct? Help me analyze the recent stock trends. Wouldn't that qualify as using a clever mind to create wealth? The system fell silent for a moment. This action aligns with the principles of a socialist market economy. The data analysis module has been activated. I am currently filtering potential stocks expected to rise over 50 in the coming week. Half an hour later, I gazed at the densely packed list compiled by the system and smiled. Let Gu Yanqing go to hell. I am determined to make money, build my career, and become wealthy. I pooled all the money from my account, along with the proceeds from selling some of the original owner's jewelry, totaling 200,000 yuan, and invested it all in the stock market. Then, I cast this matter aside and began planning for my future. I, Lin Shu, was a top-tier programmer at a leading internet company in my past life, specializing in artificial intelligence and data security. The technological landscape of this world is comparable to that of my previous one, presenting me with a vast sea of opportunities. I intend to establish my own technology company. Lacking startup capital, office space, and a team? No matter, one must take life one step at a time. I initially accepted a few freelance jobs online, primarily focusing on security maintenance and vulnerability repair for large corporate websites. With my superior skills, these tasks were a mere trifle. Within a week, I had earned 500,000. Meanwhile, the 200,000 I had invested in the stock market had quintupled under the system's precise predictions, amounting to 1 million. My first pot of gold had arrived. During this period, Gu Yanchen called me several times, all of which I dismissed without hesitation. Unable to locate me, he resorted to sending an array of luxury items, clothes, bags, and jewelry, through his assistant, which accumulated in my apartment's living room. I promptly listed these items on a second-hand website and sold everything, garnering nearly 2 million yuan. Gu, the ever-generous ATM. One day, while I was engrossed in coding in my computer, the doorbell rang. Assuming it was a delivery, I opened the door without glancing at the visitor. Standing there was Gu Yanchen, looking somewhat haggard, with faint dark circles under his eyes and his suit slightly wrinkled, a far cry from his usual polished self. Lin Shu, he said, his gaze intricate with emotions. Leaning against the doorframe, I regarded him with a neutral expression. Is there something you need? His furrowed brow revealed that my aloofness had struck a nerve. Why didn't you answer my calls? What about the gifts I sent you? Why did you sell them all? I simply had no use for them and did not wish to speak on the phone, I replied succinctly. Lin Shu. He stepped closer, urgency creeping into his tone. What do you truly desire? I acknowledged that I was wrong at the banquet. I misunderstood you. I've sent Su-on abroad, and she will never return. Are you satisfied now? I almost found his indignation amusing. Gu Yanchen, you have entirely misunderstood one crucial fact, I said, fixing my gaze on him, enunciating each word. Who you send away or bring back has no bearing on me. My satisfaction is utterly irrelevant. I only wish to annul our engagement and sever all ties henceforth. His countenance instantly darkened. That is impossible, he declared emphatically.
Why?
I inquired, catching him off guard. His lips moved, yet no coherent response emerged.
Indeed, why?
He professed no love for me, perhaps even disdain. Annulment of our engagement should have been a matter of profit without loss for him. At that moment, the system in my mind blared with fervent bijou. We workers have power. Detecting that the host is making an independent personal choice, resisting the feudal concept of arranged marriage. The system highly affirms this. Labor creates happiness, struggle achieves greatness. I remained stoic as I shut the door. Nothing, just community outreach promoting the glory of labor. Gu Yanchen was left standing outside, but he did not depart. He lingered at the door for a full hour before finally leaving in a dejected manner. I watched his forlorn silhouette through the peephole, unfazed. The heartfelt sentiments of a scoundrel are worth less than the grass by the roadside. Whoever believes him is a fool. In the following days, I utilized my earnings to rent a small office in a tech park in the city center and registered my company, Core Technology. The name was suggested by the system, which claimed it radiated positive energy, symbolizing our commitment to mastering core technologies and contributing to a powerful nation. What more could I say? I would heed its advice. With the company newly established and a solitary figure at the helm, I was not in a rush. I continued to take orders online while scouting for suitable technical talent. One day, while I was attempting to breach a large corporation's firewall, they offered a handsome sum but imposed exceedingly stringent requirements. After an all-nighter, I finally discovered a breakthrough. Yet, just as I prepared to implant my code, I realized another individual had also identified the vulnerability almost simultaneously. Their technique was remarkably adept, their thought process original, even surpassing my own by a fraction of a second. Intrigued, I refrained from further assault and instead followed the traces they left behind, tracing back to their source. The individual exhibited heightened vigilance, constructing layers of obfuscation. However, under the combined pressure of my expertise as a top hacker and the patriotic system, their defenses were swiftly dismantled. Half an hour later, I obtained their complete profile. Chun Mo, 22, a senior computer science student at Haichung University, a prodigy yet to graduate. I gazed at his photo, his youthful face marked by a hint of defiance, and smiled.
He was the one.
I directly proceeded to the male dormitory of Haichung University. At that time, Chunemo was engrossed in a video game, headphones on, devouring instant noodles, his hair a disheveled mess, surrounded by empty beverage bottles, a quintessential tech geek. I knocked on the door. "Who is it?" he called, not lifting his gaze. "Your future employer," I replied. Only then did he remove his headphones, regarding me with suspicion. "Who are you looking for?" "For you, Chunemo. You were the one who attacked the Shanghai group's firewall last night, weren't you?" His expression shifted dramatically, leaping from his chair. "Who are you? What do you want?" "Calm down," I chuckled, presenting a document. "I am Lin Shu, the founder of Core Technology. I would like to invite you to join my company. Here is the contract." Chunemo skeptically accepted the contract, flipping through a few pages before scoffing. "Core Technology? Never heard of it. 20,000 a month? You think you can recruit me with that?" He tossed the contract onto the table, disdain etched on his face. "Do you have any idea how many big companies are vying for me? Alibaba offered me 500,000 a year, Tencent 80,000, and I turned them down." "I know," I nodded, unfazed. "Because you don't wish to work for someone else. You aspire to create your own endeavors." For the first time, a flicker of intrigue crossed Chinmo's expression. "I've done my research on you," I continued. "Since your freshman year, you've been writing code and undertaking independent projects. The anonymous social networking app you developed, though taken down due to funding issues, showcased first-rate creativity and technology. You're a genius, Chunemo. You shouldn't be confined to a cog in those corporate machines." He fell silent, a glimmer of conflict in his eyes. Seizing a moment, I pressed on. "Join me, and I will grant you the highest level of technical authority, sufficient research and development funding, and even a share in the company. I have but one requirement. Together, we shall create the most remarkable product of this era." I spoke with fervor, my passion igniting. Even the system, in my mind, resonated with enthusiasm. Technology is the foundation of national strength. Innovation is the soul of national progress. Host, your entrepreneurial philosophy aligns perfectly with our innovation-driven development strategy. Let's go, all the best. Accompanied by the stirring slogans, my phone began to play, entering a new era automatically. Chunemo stared at me in sheer disbelief, then at my phone that was singing about the East is red. "What exactly are you?" he stammered. I calmly silenced the music. "A patriotic entrepreneur who keeps pace with the times." In the end, Chunemo was persuaded to join me on this venture. He became my company's chief technology officer, CTO, and the sole employee. With his addition, our development progressed at an astonishing pace. I oversaw the overall architecture and core algorithms, while he focused on coding and front-end development. The small office we rented transformed into our battleground. We lived and breathed our work, sleeping only 4 to 5 hours a day, dedicating the rest of our time to code. It was a rekindling of that long-lost, exhilarating entrepreneurial spirit. A month later, our inaugural product, a social software shield centered on data encryption and privacy protection, officially launched. In the initial stages, it garnered little attention. However, I remained unperturbed. Good wine fears, not the deep alley. I invested all remaining funds into promotion. Just then, a colossal opportunity presented itself. Gu Yanchen's company faced the most severe user data breach crisis in history. The social platform Xingyu, under the auspices of the Gu Group, currently boasts the highest market share among domestic social media applications. However, merely a week after the launch of Shield, Xingyu was exposed for harboring significant security vulnerabilities, leading to the personal information of over 50 million users, including identities, addresses, contact information, and even private chat logs, being packaged and sold on the dark web. This revelation sent shockwaves throughout the community, igniting a media frenzy. In an instant, the stock price of the Gu Group plummeted. Gu Yanqing found himself in a dire predicament, holding several press conferences to issue apologies, yet to no avail. The trust users had in Xingyu had plummeted to an all-time low, prompting a mass exodus towards safer alternatives. It was at this critical juncture that our product, Shield, championing absolute security and robust encryption, captured the public's attention. Remarkably, I spent not a single penny, and the download numbers began to soar exponentially: 100,000, 1 million, 10 million. In just 3 days, Shield ascended to the pinnacle of the App Store download rankings. Chun Mo and I became overnight sensations. In the office, Chun Mo gazed at the surging data in the back end, his face flushed with excitement. Sister Lin, we are about to strike it rich. I chuckled and patted his shoulder, cautioning him not to celebrate too soon, as the real battle still lay ahead. What battle? He inquired, oblivious to Gu Yanqing's inevitable response. I warned him that it would not be long before Gu Yanqing traced the data breach back to us. Chun Mo's eyes widened in disbelief. Sister Lin, did you do this? No, I replied, shaking my head. It wasn't me, it was the hackers of justice. Indeed. The one who exposed Xingyu's vulnerabilities was I, but I executed my plan with meticulous precision, erasing all traces. I merely submitted the vulnerability anonymously to a reputable security platform, which chose to publicize it only after verification.
Legali, iburano culpability.
Yet, Gu Yanqing was no fool. The coincidence of Shield's rapid rise immediately following Xingyu's turmoil was too conspicuous. He would undoubtedly target me. As anticipated, that very afternoon, I received a call from Gu Yanqing. His voice was laced with an unprecedented chill and fury. Lin Shu, it was you, wasn't it? Mr. Gu, one may indulge in reckless eating, but one must not speak carelessly. I reclined in my office chair, adopting a nonchalant tone. Everything requires evidence. Do you possess any? He was momentarily rendered speechless. After a protracted silence, he suppressed his anger and spoke each word with deliberate intensity. Lin Shu, don't get too smug. You think your plan is flawless? I have engaged the best security team in the country. If I catch even the slightest hint, I assure you, you will rot in jail. Very well, I replied, a light laugh escaping my lips. I shall await your findings. With that, I ended the call. Chun Mo, who had been listening anxiously, asked Sister Lin, do you think he could actually uncover something? Have no fear, I reassured him. All traces we left lead to an offshore IP address. Moreover, even if he suspects me, without evidence, he can do nothing. At this juncture, our concern should not be with him. I fixed my gaze on the computer screen as the numbers continued to rise, my expression sharpening. Instead, we should be wary of the sharks drawn by the scent of blood. The explosive success of S.H.I.E.L.D. threatened the interests of many, more than just the Gu Group, but also several other domestic internet giants. Soon, a flurry of smear campaigns and attacks against S.H.I.E.L.D. began circulating online. Some alleged we had stolen technology from Xingyu. Others claimed our so-called encryption was merely a gimmick, utterly ineffectual. There were even those who uncovered my identity, branding me as Gu Yanqing's forsaken fiancé, driven by resentment to seek revenge. In the midst of this chaos, a notification from the system emerged. Host, a significant amount of negative public sentiment has been detected. Shall we initiate the public opinion guidance program?
Oh?
You possess such a function? I expressed my surprise. This system is equipped with an advanced public relations management module, capable of effectively steering public sentiment, promoting social righteousness, and disseminating positive energy. Very well, let us see what you can do. Understood. Half an hour later, I refreshed my Weibo feed and discovered a new trending topic, core technology, a national treasure. Upon clicking, I was greeted with an astonishing sight. Various official media outlets and verified accounts were fervently retweeting the news, heralding the birth of S.H.I.E.L.D., a social application boasting indigenous encryption technology. Breaking the foreign technology monopoly is within reach. Through S.H.I.E.L.D., we witness the responsibility and commitment of our nation's young entrepreneurs. Support domestic products, support core technology. Cheers to our national enterprises. I turned to Chun Mo. This narrative seems excessively positive, does it not? Indeed. The previously disparaging online commentators were swiftly swept away by this unexpected wave of patriotic fervor. Public sentiment had been forcefully reversed in a manner I had never anticipated. I stared at the computer screen, lost in contemplation. It seemed that this system was even more formidable than I had imagined. Thus, the crisis surrounding S.H.I.E.L.D. was inadvertently alleviated by the system's timely intervention. Our user base not only remained intact, but surged once more, buoyed by a wave of national pride. Prominent investment firms began to extend olive branches our way. I opted for a state-owned investment partner, securing $50 million in angel funding. Our company was finally on the right track. We relocated to a more spacious and bright office, hiring our first batch of employees. Chun Mo could finally dispose of the pile of instant noodle containers cluttering his dormitory. Everything was progressing positively. Conversely, Gu Yanqing's situation grew increasingly dire. The fallout from the Xingyu data breach continued to escalate, compounded by the meteoric rise of S.H.I.E.L.D., resulting in the Gu Group's market value evaporating by nearly 10 billion within a month. The so-called best security team he had engaged conducted an exhaustive month-long investigation, ultimately uncovering only the offshore IP address, leaving him with nothing. He had become the laughingstock of the industry. One day, while I was in a meeting, my assistant informed me that Gu Yanqing had arrived unannounced, specifically requesting to see me. I made him wait for half an hour before leisurely entering the meeting room. He sat on the sofa, his posture appearing rather despondent. Upon hearing the door open, he turned to face me, his gaze imbued with a complex mix of emotions. "Lin Shu," he began, his voice slightly hoarse, "let us talk." "Very well," I nodded, taking a seat across from him. "About what? Is it true that you were the one who exposed the vulnerabilities in Xingyu?" He remained fixated on this inquiry. "No," I replied, my expression unwavering. He locked his gaze onto my eyes, as if attempting to discern something hidden within them. However, my conscience was clear, and I remained unperturbed. After a prolonged silence, he finally relented, slumping back against the sofa and rubbing his temples. "Fine, even if it wasn't you. Would you consider selling S.H.I.E.L.D. to me? I will offer you 10 billion to acquire your entire company." I laughed. "Mr. Gu, are you jesting? S.H.I.E.L.D's current market valuation has already surpassed 30 billion. Furthermore, it continues to grow rapidly. You think you can acquire it for 10 billion? Do you consider me a fool, or do you believe you possess extraordinary charm?" His complexion shifted between shades of green and white. "Lin Shu," he inhaled deeply, his tone softening, even tinged with a hint of desperation. "Must you persist in opposing me? Can we not return to the way things were?" "Return to the way things were?" I echoed, reflecting on a time when I endured his scorn and abuse, sacrificing everything for his beloved white moonlight. Alert! Alert! Detection of cliched plot involving a reconciliation with the X scenario. Suddenly, an ear-piercing alarm blared in my mind. Activating anti-cliché mode. Resolutely resist the tide of vulgarity, mediocrity, and sycophancy. The next moment, the television in the reception room flickered to life. The screen began to display a black-and-white documentary from the 1980s titled The Glorious Deeds of Model Worker Li Tiniu. A venerable and resonant voice echoed throughout the room. Comrade Li Tiniu devoted his entire life to the steel industry of our nation, working diligently and selflessly. Gu Yanqing interjected. "I apologize, Mr. Gu. Our company's cultural ethos mandates the daily airing of model worker stories to inspire the spirit of advancement." Gu Yanqing's countenance darkened to an unyielding shade of black. He rose abruptly, uttering not a word, and stormed out. Watching his retreating figure, I felt a sense of satisfaction. To deal with such a base man, one must wield magic to counter magic. No, it is the core values that will serve as my weapon against him. Gu Yanqing's acquisition plan, of course, met its demise. In a fit of rage and humiliation, he launched a comprehensive assault on our core technology in the commercial arena. Leveraging the influence of the Gu Group within the industry, he severed all our cooperative ties and even lured away several of our newly recruited technical talents with exorbitant offers. The atmosphere within the company grew tense and anxious. Chun Mo approached me, visibly distressed. "Sister Lin, Gu Yanqing intends to drive us to ruin. We are now completely isolated, and many of our projects have come to a standstill. Do not panic," I reassured him calmly. "Let him be strong. The gentle breeze caresses the mountain ridge. We possess core technology." I interrupted him. "That is our greatest assurance. They may steal our personnel, yet they cannot extricate our code. They may obstruct our channels, but they cannot silence our users." I urged him to focus on technological iterations while I handled the rest. "Gu Yanqing wishes to engage in corporate warfare? I shall accompany him to the bitter end. In my previous life, I witnessed more business tactics in top-tier enterprises than he has consumed salt. He disrupts my channels. I shall forge new ones." I directly forged a strategic partnership with the largest mobile phone manufacturer in the country, ensuring that our S.H.I.E.L.D. software became pre-installed on their new devices. He poaches my people, I shall poach his. I offered salaries 3 times higher than his, along with company equity, and successfully lured the head of his top domestic security team to our side. He seeks to suffocate me with capital? I am far more adept at maneuvering capital than he is. Utilizing our system's powerful data analytics capabilities, I executed rapid trades in the financial market, precisely targeting several companies closely allied with the Gu Group, igniting a fiery upheaval in his backyard. In a mere 2 months, the tides of offense and defense shifted dramatically. Gu Yanqing was left bewildered and overwhelmed by my series of counterattacks. The Gu Group's stock price plummeted repeatedly, nearing its issue price. He finally realized that he was not contending with the pliable Lin Shu, but rather with a foe far more ruthless and formidable. On this day, an unexpected visitor sought me out. Gu Yanqing's father, Gu Zhenxiong, the chairman of the Gu Group, a true master of cunning. Gu Zhenxiong requested a meeting at a private tea house. Though he had surpassed 60, he appeared vigorous, his keen eyes gleaming with perceptive insight. Miss Lin, I have long admired your reputation. He personally poured me a cup of tea. Truly impressive for one so young. Mr. Gu, you flatter me, I replied, lifting the cup and taking a delicate sip. I have come today to apologize on behalf of my incompetent son. I have heard of the grievances he has caused you. It is my failure in upbringing that has led to your suffering. I smiled faintly, choosing not to respond directly. I understood that his visit was far from a mere apology. In the realm of commerce, conflicts among the younger generation are commonplace. There is no need for concern, Mr.
Gu, I said.
No, this is not a mere conflict. Gu Zhenxiong shook his head, his gaze sharpening. Yanqing has been blinded by a woman named Su Wanyan. That woman harbors ulterior motives, and our family will never allow her to enter our doors. He paused, then continued, Miss Lin, you are a good girl, intelligent and capable. The engagement between you and Yanqing was a long-standing arrangement between our families. I hope you two can reconcile. I nearly laughed aloud. After all this, he had come to play the mediator. Mr. Gu, I fear I must disappoint you. I placed my teacup down and met his gaze. My relationship with Gu Yanqing is irreparable. The annulment of our engagement is merely a matter of time. Gu Zhenxiong's expression darkened. Lin Shu, do not be foolish. He retracted his previous amiability, a hint of menace creeping into his tone. Do you truly believe that your fledgling company can compete with the Gu Group? Let me assure you, the Gu Group has endured in Haiqing for decades for good reason. I am giving you an opportunity today. Return to Yanqing's side and embrace your role as the Gu family's matriarch. I can have Yanqing manage your company for you. Otherwise. He left the sentence hanging, the implication unmistakable. I rose, looking down at him. Mr. Gu, allow me to offer you this. The times have changed. With that, I turned and departed, leaving Gu Zhenxiong seated alone, his expression a thundercloud. Host, your recent actions exemplify the spirit of an independent woman in the new era, self-respecting, self-confident, self-reliant, and resilient. The system began to applaud. The system suggests playing the song Resilient Rose as a gesture of encouragement. I replied, let us keep a low profile. The negotiation with Gu Zhenxiong ended on a sour note. I dismissed his threats from my mind. Our core technology is no longer that trifling workshop of yesteryear. With over 100 million users and ample cash flow, we have the support of the national team behind us. The Gu Group, a sinking ship, is simply not equipped to drown us. In fact, it was the Gu Group itself that faced significant internal turmoil. I instructed the system to monitor the Gu Group's internal network around the clock and soon uncovered a staggering secret. The chief financial officer of the Gu Group was conspiring with several board members to short sell their own company stock, planning to buy it back at a low price to oust Gu Zhenxiong and his son entirely. This CFO was none other than Gu Zhenxiong's most trusted confidant. What a splendid tale of intrigue. I remained discreet, quietly gathering evidence of their wrongdoing. Then, I began to surreptitiously acquire shares of the Gu Group on the secondary market. Due to the multitude of negative news surrounding the company, their stock price had plummeted to historic lows. With little effort, I became the largest individual shareholder, second only to the Gu family. Everything was in place, awaiting the catalyst to ignite the situation. That opportunity soon presented itself. In the original narrative, there existed a pivotal, heart-wrenching moment where the female protagonist donated a kidney to her first love. Although the plot had veered wildly off course, this moment resurfaced in an unexpected manner.
Su Wanyan,
Having been sent abroad, suddenly faced a diagnosis of acute renal failure, necessitating an immediate transplant. Astoundingly, her blood type was extremely rare, Rh negative. Coincidentally, the original protagonist, Lin Shu, shared the same blood type. Thus, Gu Yanqing frantically began searching for me. He found himself blocked by security at the entrance of my company. He waited tirelessly from day to night. As a torrential downpour ensued, he stood motionless in the rain, akin to a statue. The employees within the company began to murmur. Chan Mo rushed over, inquiring, "Sister Lin, are you truly not going to see him?" "I will not," I replied. "Let him stand in the rain and reflect." Host. According to meteorological data, the upcoming rainfall is expected to persist for 12 hours, accompanied by a sudden drop in temperature. Prolonged exposure to rain could result in hypothermia and various complications such as pneumonia. The system began its educational discourse. The system suggests, in the spirit of humanitarianism, that we can offer him an umbrella and a cup of hot water. After some contemplation, I found the system's suggestion to be quite sensible. Therefore, I instructed my assistant to go down and deliver an umbrella to him. The umbrella bore our company logo, adorned with a prominent slogan: Core Technology, Safeguarding Your Information Security. 17 Gu Yanchen ultimately waited in vain for me. He stood in the rain throughout the night, and by the following morning, he was taken to the hospital by my assistant, suffering from a high fever. Meanwhile, I arrived at the shareholders' meeting of the Gu Group, accompanied by my legal team and all the gathered evidence. When I appeared in the conference room as the second-largest shareholder, astonishment swept over everyone present. Particularly, Gu Xinxiong's gaze upon me was as if he wished to devour me whole. "Lin Shu, what are you doing here? Why can't I be here?" I replied with a smile, distributing the documents in my hand to each shareholder present. "Chairman Gu, perhaps you should first concern yourself with your own situation." The documents contained irrefutable evidence of the chief financial officer colluding with other directors to short-sell the company and embezzle funds. The room erupted in chaos. The directors involved turned ashen. Gu Xinxiong, trembling with fury, pointed at the CFO, struggling to find his voice before finally fainting in exasperation. The shareholders' meeting turned into a tumultuous affair. Seizing the opportunity amidst the upheaval within the Gu Group, I swiftly allied with other minority shareholders to initiate an impeachment of the board. Ultimately, the old board led by Gu Xinxiong was dismissed. I, Lin Shu, was elected as the new chairperson of the Gu Group with overwhelming support. Sitting in the office that represented the pinnacle of power in Haiching's business empire felt surreal. Congratulations, host, on successfully taking over the Gu Group. The system announced in a tone reminiscent of a state broadcaster. This is a remarkable victory achieved through legal and compliant business means. It fully demonstrates that knowledge is power and that effort can alter destiny. The system suggests playing good days to celebrate. I consented. Thus, amidst the joyful melodies of a day where all aspirations seem attainable, I officially embarked on my journey as a business empress. 18 My first act upon taking the helm of the Gu Group was to implement sweeping reforms throughout the organization. I dismantled redundant departments, dismissed those who thrived on their past glories, and promoted capable, energetic young talent. Simultaneously, I integrated core technology deeply with the Gu Group's operations, leveraging the group's robust channels and resources to promote our core technologies. The once dilapidated commercial behemoth of Gu Group revitalized under my stewardship. 2 weeks later, Gu Yanchen was discharged from the hospital. What awaited him was a world transformed. His father had suffered a stroke and was hospitalized, incapacitated. His company had become mine. Everything he once possessed now belonged to me. He came to the office seeking me, and this time, no one obstructed him. Everyone respectfully referred to him as Mr. Gu. He entered the office that had once belonged to his father, gazing at me seated in the executive chair, his eyes filled with confusion and anguish.
"Why?"
he rasped, his voice hoarse, as if sandpapered.
"Why?"
I looked at him, finding a hint of amusement in his ignorance. "Gu Yanchen, do you still not understand? From the moment you chose to harm and abandon me repeatedly for Su Wanwan, from the moment you regarded me as a mere tool to be cast aside rather than a living being, this outcome was inevitable. What you hold dear, what you take pride in, is utterly worthless in my eyes. Conversely, what you disdain can effortlessly obliterate everything you cherish." He staggered back 2 steps, his face as pale as a sheet. "Lin Shu," he gazed at me, his eyes reddening. "Can't we start anew? I was wrong. I realize my mistakes. Please give me another chance, won't you?"
He wept.
This once arrogant man shed tears of regret before me. Had the original owner been here, perhaps she would have softened. But I would not. I gazed at him as one might look at a stranger. It is too late, Guyanchen. There are no remedies for regret in this world. Detected that the host is delivering a profoundly righteous statement. The system recited with enthusiasm: prosperity, democracy, civilization, harmony, freedom, equality, justice, rule of law, patriotism, dedication, integrity, kindness. Host, please remember this 24-character maxim. It is a code of conduct that we, as youth in the new era, must adhere to. Guyanchen was taken aback by this unexpected voiceover. He looked around in terror. What voice is that? I shrugged. Perhaps it's the light of righteousness? 19 Guyanchen departed, leaving in a daze, like a dog abandoned by its master. I paid no further attention to his fate. I heard he sold the Gu family's old residence and used the proceeds to find a suitable kidney for Su Wanwan, who underwent a successful transplant. However, upon waking, she learned that the Gu family had gone bankrupt and that Guyanchen had become a penniless wretch. Without hesitation, she left him and married a wealthy old man abroad. Guyanchen became the greatest joke in Haicheng. He vanished completely from the public eye. Perhaps, for this once perfect couple, it was a fittingly icy conclusion. As for me, I became increasingly occupied. Under my leadership, the newly rebranded Gu Group, or rather, Core Group, thrived, swiftly establishing itself as the leader in the domestic technology sector. I graced the cover of Forbes, becoming an idol for countless young people. Chun Mo transformed from a disheveled tech geek into a capable CTO, worth over 100 million. On the day of our company's new product launch, we achieved unprecedented success. At the celebratory banquet, everyone was in high spirits. Chun Mo, having indulged a bit too much, approached me with a glass in hand. Sister Lin, he said, his eyes sparkling, thank you. Thank me for what? I chuckled. Thank you for rescuing me from that miserable dormitory, he replied. Without you, I might still be toiling away as an overworked coder in some big company. You gave me a chance to change the world. I raised my glass and clinked it with his. It is we who have given ourselves an opportunity. In the distance, the city's neon lights shone brightly like a river of stars. I gazed out at the myriad of lights, feeling a profound tranquility. This world had changed entirely because of my presence. There were no tragic romances, no melodramatic misunderstandings. Only an ordinary individual who, through intellect and hard work, altered their fate. This sensation is truly delightful. 20 late at night, I returned to my empty penthouse. After a refreshing shower, I poured myself a glass of red wine and stood before the expansive floor-to-ceiling window, gazing down at the city's nightscape. System, I softly called. Comrade, I am here. The familiar baritone resonated punctually. What should our next 5-year plan entail? I inquired playfully. The system paused for a moment, seemingly engaged in complex calculations. Then, in an unprecedentedly solemn tone, it slowly articulated, our journey lies among the stars and the vast oceans. Our next objective is to advance aerospace technology, to break free from the confines of Earth and venture into the cosmos. We shall dedicate our lives to the construction of a community with a shared destiny for humanity and to the realization of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. I paused momentarily, only to burst into laughter. Raising my glass, I offered a toast to the myriad stars twinkling outside the window. Very well. Let it be the stars and the seas. The sensation of freedom is truly exhilarating. This concludes the narrative. Thank you for listening. And until we meet again for the next tale.